Hello, good evening. I'm Helen Sadler, your Destiny Helper. Hello there. I'm glad to be with you once again. You know, we're coming up on the Empath conference, and it is the 24th of October, and it is from 10 to 2, and it's going to be amazing. You're going to really love it. So if you are an empath, I have certain questions, things, and targets that we're going after on the flyer. So those of you who are interested in the Empath, Calling All Empath Conference, please go to destinyhelper.com and register there, destinyhelper.com and register there. It will be a Zoom conference, and my special guest is none other than that of Dr. Carmen Bryan. And it's going to be awesome. The two of us is going to dove right in, and we're going to talk about the empath, because a lot of times people think that empaths are weak, and because of how they handle different emotions and how they can sense in the atmosphere. And we're going to talk about the trained empath, the untrained empath, and many empaths that people think that are vulnerable and that are just introvert. That is not always the case. You got to remember what an empath is. I mean, they are very help to society. Without them, we will be in trouble. So register for the conference. Is Calling All Empath Conference with Dr. Bryan and myself, and it's going to be on Zoom this Saturday at 10 to 2 o'clock. So that's 4 hours of constant teaching, and you will have a chance to ask any question that you would like to ask, and we are available for you. And we count an honor and a privilege just to spend that time with you. The conference, you can register at destinyhelper.com, destinyhelper.com. The conference $80. So we're seeing you there. All right, let's get right to it. I'm excited about tonight, and how can I say what I'm going to talk about, but it's really sad. It's a sad subject, and many of you are dealing with it. I want to talk about when the child that was raised in a narcissist home with the wife as the supply or the husband as the supply, and the child grow up to blame the supply parent, and they basically excuse the narcissist parent. And so we call this, there's the alienation parents, which cause the disturbance. Then you have the targeted parent, which the child has some strong emotions and allegation against them. And so the parent, which was doing the best they can, they was in supply form, and they had to get over an addiction themselves. And so now that they're trying to get over the addiction, they're growing out of it. And some of them have escaped. They're free. They've been away from the narcissist. In some cases, they stayed in the relationship with the narcissist, and the child grows up. But the child blames the supply parent, because the child feel like the parent was not there for them, and the child feel like the parent or the mom, if the daddy is the alienation, or the dad if the mom was alienation. And so the alienation parent is usually the one with the ing. They're always doing things, but the target is the one who's how can I say, receiving. They're on the receiving end of it. So these children grow up because they've seen a lot of things. And mom, you didn't know what to do, or dad, you didn't know what to do when you were with a narcissist. As a matter of fact, it took you time to really discover who you were with. You had no idea that you was with a narcissist, and as you as the relationship grew, you came into videos just like this and other videos that some of you are watching, and you begin to learn what that was, or you took her to the doctor. They actually got a diagnosis of being a narcissist, NPD, which is a narcissist personality disorder. And so this personality disorder is deemed among the medical arena as a permanent disorder with no change ever as a disorder. Okay, in the medical arena, that is true. I am a pastor, so I get to see a different side of the narcissist, and I get to engage a different side of the narcissist. So the child that grows up in the house, a lot of times you have the golden child. There's more than one child. You will have the golden child. You will have the scapegoat, and you will have the child that's neither one, that are fighting for the golden child benefits. So if there's 4 kids, you got 2 fighting because one already know that they are the scapegoat. The scapegoats identify themselves quickly. The golden child identify themselves quickly because the amount of treatment and the kind of treatment is descriptive of what they get. And the scapegoat knows that they don't fit. No matter what they do, they will never be approved because the narcissists need a permanent stamp on the scapegoat. The qualities of the scapegoat, I had a video about the scapegoat. They are not weak people. They're usually very strong people, even though some of them can be broken. They're usually very strong, very vocal, and they got that fight in them. And so the narcissists usually hate them, so they'll be the scapegoat. Then sometimes you have some with a different character. Go to my video where I'm talking about the narcissist and the scapegoat, and you can look at that video and get answers. And I also talk about this in the narcissistic family, and you can look at that also. But when the child grow up, they have been traumatized. Some of them have sustained brain trauma from everything that they've been through. Some of them have had physical abuse, sexual abuse, and they just been tormented. The narcissist, based on how malignant they are, even starves the child, and the child only eats when they go to school. That's their way of punishing them until the child says something. And if the mom isn't strong enough to have that fight back in her, the children usually go under tremendous trauma because the mother herself is held captive psychologically, so she can't defend her kids, and that leaves the kids wide open to whatever desires the narcissists have. Well, when this happened, it can leave bitterness in the mind of the child. They can be really bitter about what is happening. They can be really angry about what is happening. They feel that the mom or the dad that was there, because there's some vulnerable supply that are men, and the women are dominant. When you get women narcissists, they're very detailed and they are very catty, and they have a different kind of operation than the male. Because think about the woman, she's the nurturer, she tends to things, she cares about the family. And it's the opposite with a female narcissist. She's still self-centered, got all of the traits of the narcissist, and she is the female. So the nurturing, the caring is usually not there on the basis that it should be. And so these kids grow up traumatized, and they're looking at the parent, asking for help from the parent that is the supply, because they usually are afraid of the narcissist, which is the dominator, whether it's male or female. They avoid them because of the repercussion of having to deal with that mother or father narcissist. So they look to the supply where they are loved and cared, where the emotions are given, and that mother loved that child, that father loved the child, and they try to give the emotions to that child. But that child is in the house where all of this rage, and based on the grade of narcissists, the school of narcissists, where they are, that is going to be the temperature or the temperament of the house. So the child grow up and tell the parents, I hate you, you let this happen, you could have stopped it, you never heard me, you were never there for me. And the truth of it is, you were there for them, you were there helping them, you never left them, but you were engaging as much as you can, and you were even trapped yourself. You knew you needed help, but you didn't know how to get it because you didn't know what you was dealing with. So this child grow up in their mind. And then we're going to talk about, again, a little more on parent alienation, because usually what happens too when the parent alienates that child from you, they teach that child to hate you. They teach the child, they even would allow the child to become a rebel and totally rebel against you with any good that you do, nothing you do. And the narcissist will go to the pity of the child that you're trying to hurt them. So the child now, even though their child, feel like they need to protect the narcissist and they don't want to be with you. And the narcissist will feel them all of the evil intentions that stating that you're going to do this. And the truth of it is, you would do none of that. But the child is immature psychologically, and they're given over. And usually the child wants the parent that they're starving for. They go after the parent that they're starving for. It's just like when you're hungry. When you're hungry, I mean, you will just eat and almost anything that you like because you're hungry. But when you're full, they can put what you love before you and you won't touch it because you are full. And that's the way that child is. That child is filled with your love as much as they will recognize. And at the same time, they love you and they hate you. So it's a love-hate relationship, or they just discarding you because the narcissist is in their ear. So this child grow up as a child. It's a narcissist child, or you have a blended family, and the narcissist is the blended father of that family, and the narcissist is just cruel and just mean, and you can't keep them away because you now trying to fight for your marriage, and sometimes you know that it's not going to work. You know they're not going to change. You've been there for 15 years and you got 15 years of the same stuff. No matter how they say they're sorry, no matter how they cry, it's 15 years of the same stuff. Well, now you got a child that's now 15 years old, and they have the stuff that you've been going through in them, and they watch you, because sometimes a child hate the weakness of the supply parent, and they despise them because they feel like, I never want to be weak, I want to be strong. And because they didn't see the strength in you, they despise you, and they grow up like that, and they just tell you how much they hate you, and they tell you when they leave home they are never coming back, or I hope you die, I hope you die. You didn't stop him when he came in the room. You didn't stop him when he hit me. You didn't stop him. You didn't stop him when he embarrassed me in front of my friends. And when you did try to stop him, you were overpowered. And then some of you have built to the point where you're bold, you're audacious. And this is when that narcissist come in with child alienation. The narcissists have played emotions so much until they know the emotion, the outcome of what they do, because they've done this over the years. Even being with you, they have triangulated. So the child hates you, and that child is going to need some therapy. That child is going to need a professional therapy of someone like myself with many years under my belt in ministerial ethics. And so we come in with deliverance, and we help that child through consultation. And if necessary, we refer the child to a professional, because we recognize when the child needs something else. We make sure that everything that child needs, that child get. Because if you're going to deal with family alienation and the child grows up and blame the mom who is the supply, or blame the dad who is the supply, you're going to have to go through years of buried hurt and pain and damage. And sometimes the child get angry at the parents. They almost hate the parent, because the child wants to be able to help that mother who may be under duress, that mother who may be physically violated and abused. That child really want to help the parent, but the child feel helpless to help the parent, and they feel like, why don't my mom leave? Why don't my mom go? And they don't realize it's not as simple, it's not as simple as it seems, because you can't just leave. You can be charged with abandonment, abduction. You know, the narcissist will go to any extreme to hurt. And because you're the primary supply, they don't want that primary supply to leave. They want to discard the primary supply upon will, and not the primary supply escape upon their will. The narcissists get offended when any decision is made that violate their desire. And so this child grows up, and you would think as the parent, I love them, I gave them everything. Why they hate me? Why they don't hate the narcissist? Because they were so traumatized. They went inside themselves against the narcissist. They separated themselves against the narcissist. They knew that they would get hurt, but then you were their hero. And so they thought you would come in because you was the one that touched them. You was the one that loved them. You was the one that nurtured them. And a lot of times, a lot of narcissists are developed in homes like this. The child goes in himself just like the narcissist, and he don't come out. He's afraid to come out. And that fear takes him deeper, deeper, deeper in until he's lost within himself. And anytime they get lost within themselves, they feel like there's this hole they never feel. They feel like it's the darkness that they never come out. And they feel like everybody's against them. Everybody hates them. You can love them, love them, love them, and they feel nothing. When you grow up with a narcissistic child, and there can be more than one narcissist child that develop in a home. So if you have 2 or 3 children and they are narcissists, and then you usually have a tender one that is usually, sometimes there's no empath in that house. They're just narcissists in that house. And when you have narcissists that's in the house because there was such trauma, such violation, there have been crazy things, children tied to the bed, children starved, and they got a 14-year-old, and the child looked like he's 6 because he never got nourishment. He didn't bathe, and the living condition was deplorable. And this child goes within themselves, and there's a lot of mental illness that can develop out of neglect, because when a child is not loved, they did a study in Russia, and they took babies and put them, and they fed them, and when they fed them, they would hold them and love them and pat them and put them down. Then they took other babies, they would clean them, they would bathe them, but they never hugged them. They never said any good words to them. They went in there quietly. The baby would cry. They would let the baby cry, but not to the point of hurting, and they would feed the baby if he cried and try to silence him and put him down. But the other kids got loved. The ones that were not loved would just bump their heads against the wall, and they would rock, bumping their heads against the wall. They was trembling, they was jumping, they was fearful. And they had this deep, lost look in their eyes, like there was no light in their eyes. The other children that got loved and got cared for had light in their eyes. And they gave better food to the children that was not loved, and gave good food, but it was not the best that those other kids got. But because they got love, they really, really succeeded. They really matured. They was healthier. Even if they were sick, they were healthier from the love that they received. And that's the way it is with some children. Their interpretation of love, their interpretation of care, their interpretation of abandonment, because sometimes kids can get very elusive. They have their own mind, their own world, and it can be things that is definitely not true. You love them, you care for them, but you were under such trauma until the devastation of the trauma masked the love that you was giving them, and they grow up, they get into trouble, they get into gangs, they get pregnant early, they want to leave, they never get their life together, they have drug addiction, they go into robbery, they do crazy things, they steal with money in their pockets, and every time you turn around, they don't want you to touch them. They say, you never tried to defend me. And then parents, you cannot take on guilt, because you knew the situation. You knew what you were under. You knew that you loved that child, but you was limited, because there's in the time the narcissist around, the narcissists get all the attention. If you try to love that child, the narcissists call you. They always need you. And there are some people that when the narcissist is home, they go in the room and basically leave the child. So you almost have to escape to even care for the kids. And then you tell the narcissist, we got to care for the kids. And if they think they're going to get in trouble, because a lot of narcissists is fearful and insecure, they're really scary cats, a lot of them. And those who are belligerent and malignant, they don't care about anybody. They always in the fight zone. They always in the fight mode. They're aggressive sexually. They're aggressive no matter what you do. They're aggressive, and they always going after somebody. A lot of times, like that child growing up blaming you, the narcissist is thinking about their narcissistic atmosphere and parent, and they never got back at the father or the mom. So now they're taking it out on you, and they see the cycle, but they don't say anything, and they're growing up. And if you have been in the situation of abuse, you don't want your child to grow up being abusive. A lot of men that grow up and count their mother as weak, go get a young woman like their mother, and they get someone that they can dominate. They get someone that they can beat. And her only reason they want her is to take out their aggression that they couldn't take out of their mother, or the woman go get her father to get the abuse that she already has given herself from the inside. So she hates her father because maybe she was molested, she was violated. She hates him. So she go get men that she hate. And what they're going to do in turn, beat her, misuse her. And sometimes if she get a nice guy, she will provoke the worst in him instead of bringing out the best in him. So the child grows up and the child said, I can't stand my mom. I hate her. They don't hate you. They are hurt. And what you got to do, be strong enough to be medicine. Be strong enough not to take those things personally and know that they are hurting. And once they get some therapy, once they get treatment, once they get counseling, or they go into sessions, they can start to relieve themselves of all of that anger. Because as long as they keep that anger, they usually end up in jail. They go to jail for murder. It's just crazy. And there are some children that once they leave, they never call their mother. They never contact their mom until one day they just show up until they get over it. And some children have actually left home, got away, matured, and they came back. And when they came back, they apologized to the mom. They're not narcissists. Their mom was supplied, and the mom recognized it. And the children come back and they apologize. And it's an answer to prayer when they show up. You know, you can be one of these individuals that the children are like. That is horrific, I know. And we're going to talk further about alienation, because when the parent that alienate the child away from you, and you are the target which the narcissist has placed in that child's mind, that child say things. And I'm going to show you the things to look for. There's 8 things that you can look for in a child that's really been trauma bond. And when the narcissists triangulate, so they can triangulate you and get the child to come against you, get the child to hate you, there are some things that you can do. And those of you where your child has grown up, there are paths where you can just really help them. And you could pray for them and pray that they meet someone that would open up the doors for therapy, or they would meet a friend that would make a suggestion of therapy, because you got to go through those childhood issues and traumas, you know. And a lot of times, you know, a lot of people can use, I'm a Christian and I'm born again, so Jesus Christ is my savior. And so that's where I find my release. And a lot of you may not be born again. You may be agnostic. You may be someone who may worship. There are so many religions, you know, where you may find peace. I find my peace in the Lord Jesus Christ, and that's what I offer. I can only offer what I have. And so that is a relief valve when they find some source in religion. And some people may finally find themselves in a job. They may finally find themselves in a relationship. And if they're not narcissists, that woman could break through that love wall and bring them back to their original self by loving them. And then once she loves them, once he loves her, they begin to see you. They now understand, because growing up they didn't understand. They didn't understand what you was dealing with. And some of them actually went to a narcissist and they went through that trauma. And now they are sensitive to you, understanding the relationship you were under and why you could not always cater to them the way you wanted to cater to them. But now they know that you love them. Now they know that you care for them. Now they know the situation. They know that you gave yourself to them, that you love them, and that the narcissist was a preventive element. He blocked things. He deterred things. He distracted things, and everything went back his way, while the child that is angry at you suffer. But they can grow. They can mature. Sometimes time it takes them to get out and go into life and live life, then all of a sudden they have an understanding how this thing works. And all of a sudden they are not so angry, and they are compelled now to come back to you to tell you that they are sorry, or to say, Mom, I understand. I didn't understand then, but I understand now. And you can build that relationship, because now you got building blocks and you can build it. And it may be that that child's going to take you to some uncomfortable places, because they want to talk about it. They want to talk about when what happened that caused the trauma bonding, that caused the devaluation, that caused them to run away, that caused them to leave, that caused them to scream, that caused them to break. When they was a child, they needed therapy, and they put them on different medication to help control their emotion, help control their outbursts, because they had so much on the inside of them. They had to get some help. Now they understand. But Mom, you have to be strong. When they are pointing the finger at you, you must know who you are, or it will break you down when your child say, I hate you. You let this happen. You got to know that you did not let this happen. You felt like you couldn't control it, but now you have control. Now you have information. Now you have knowledge. So what the narcissist did back then, you said, no way would I allow you to do that. And some of you, it was the child that woke you up, because you saw in that child's eyes the hurt and the anger. When they will look at you, you will see that anger in their eyes, and you can hear the question in their non-verbal conversation is, Mom, why are you letting this happen? Mom, help me out of this. Mom, get me out of this. And you felt helpless at the time, until you grew into the knowledge, until you grew in maturity. And some of you have taken on some real strength, and the things that happened, you said would never happen again. And it didn't, because you took strength. You caused the violation to cease, and you were not going to be violated anymore. And you rose up. And some of you had to escape. And when you escaped, you took that little angry child with you. And now you're having problems with that child. That child just seemed to rebel for no reason. Mom, you got to find strategy to get that child back, even if you got to get some psychological help. Find programs that would assist you in your state. And then those of you can build yourself up again. Some of you may have to go back to school. You may need your mom, your family to help you with the child care. If the child is young, or if the child is grown up and can take care of themselves, you have to stress what happened, and then you're going to have to provide answers. Sometimes the older generation feel like they shouldn't say anything, because we was taught to be quiet. We was taught not to say anything. What happened in Vegas stays in Vegas. The young people don't think that. The young people think where there is a lack of integrity, there is injustice, they want to speak out against it. They are saying, no, I will not take that. You took that, but I will not take that. I will not take this injustice. I deserve more. And that's why we're having young kids that are protesting in America, that are protesting in Nigeria, because they said we are tired of this. And that's what your child will do. Your child will have a breakout moment where they just go ballistic. They've had enough, and they're telling you, I'm not going to take this. And then when you correct them, your tone of correction seems like torture. They have not differentiated your correction from the torment. And so you have to work through that process. You have to get them to understand your child is young. Work with the schools, get the programs, get them some therapy, go out with them, have a meal where you let them free associate. And if they get very aggressive, that may not be something that you do publicly, but you cook a good meal and you could do that at home. And that way, if they have any outbursts, you are in a control element. You can handle that. You got to recognize when the child has become dangerous, because they're so filled with rage until they are hurting animals. If they are hurting animals, they can hurt you. They definitely going to need some psychological care, especially if they're under the age of 17, 16, because now children can decide at 13 whether they want you to know anything about them medically, and the doctor will honor that 13-year-old even though you got to pay the bill. They're underage for finances, but they're the right age to say they don't want you to know. But so you got to pay for service they got and stay ignorant. Life isn't fair, but life can be wise, and you can strategize. You can be very strategic with that child and their friends. If you see that child hurting their friends, manipulating their friends, narcissism is hard to tell within the child because children can be so devious. But there's sometimes when the child just special, they doing just extraordinary things that is not right. Don't strategize that away. Don't excuse that away. Your child is over aggressive in hurting animals, over aggressive in doing crazy stuff, and sometimes children will express themselves in food. They don't want you to cook food. You see them getting raw meat, or you see them banging fruit. You get in there, they got an apple with a hammer, or they are running into walls on purpose, or they're starting cutting themselves. Don't overlook it, and don't self-diagnose. Take them to a professional and let that professional assist them. There is a tremendous book that is really, really, really good. And this book is awesome. And her name is Dr. Amy Baker, and she's adult. She deals with adult children of parent alienation, and she did a study, and the study was given the different attitudes and the different stages that the children would go through when a parent is alienating them. And that's going to be another video. I'm going to show you 8 modifiers that you should look for, and these are extremists. We're not talking about kids being kids, because kids can be devious, kids can hurt, and they're still being kids. But there are areas of recognition that is out of the norm, and it's not according to age. It's usually they're talking beyond their age, because the words is put in their mouth, and they will articulate what that parent is saying to you on the phone. And so we're going to talk about that, because many of you parents that are writing me are going through this. Your child is blaming you. You're noticing different attitude differences in the child. The child eyes are telling you, you said the child's eyes are speaking to you, and they're saying, I hate you. If you cook something that they really like, they won't eat it because you tried to cook their favorite thing. And sometime when they're arguing with you, and the dad is at home and he is the offender, you can see them boil, but they won't take it out on them. They'll take it out on you, because usually people who are not confident will head for the weakest thing. And because the narcissist has abused you and devaluated you, now the child think you're weak. So that's what the child do. They take on the language of the dominant force. They take on the attitude of the dominator, and they start releasing that toward you, except they're underage. You cannot lose control because they think they can. And sometimes the narcissist, when they pitch that child against you, will allow that child to abuse you. And then a child that will abuse you will grow up to hate you. And they really don't hate you. They was under strong manipulation. And so once they get out and they get away from the narcissist, they are just like a supply. That supply get away from the narcissist, the fog leave. Your mind is free. The headaches leave. The tremors leave. The blurred vision leave, where your headaches are so tremendous until your vision is blurred, and your ears are plugged, because it's like you went to an elevation, and then finally the narcissist leave, boom, they open just like you're coming off a plane. And some of those symptoms your children may have. They may have an upset stomach, and they say it's the food you cook. No, it's not the food you cook. It's the stress of the house that is affecting that child, and the fact that that child can't talk about it. You keep telling, don't tell what goes on in the house. Don't tell what goes. If they don't free associate, they're going to implode, because they got all this stuff inside. Children don't know how to handle our adult issues. Those are adult issues, and these adult issues weigh us down. Can you imagine what it does to a 6-year-old child? And this child from birth was brought into that situation, and the narcissist leave and come back, and the only time the child is free. And you notice that when the narcissist leave, the child plays, the child love you, the child may come and hug you out of nowhere. He just stopped playing, she just stopped playing, she come and hug you. But as soon as the narcissist come back, you notice foul attitude come back, and now they hate you again and again and again, over and over again. When the child blames you for what the narcissist does because they feel like you didn't protect them, don't take it personally. Take it seriously and get strategy. Don't lose your child twice. Once to the narcissist because they halfway care unless it benefit them. And the only reason they do care because it does benefit them. And when they leave, they didn't have resolve. And you can't feel bad about what you didn't know. But once you know, you're required to do something about it. I pray that this video really strengthen you, Mom, Dad. I pray that I answer some questions. That is a difficult place to be, but it's not a powerless place to be. And you are not without power. Every situation, you are empowered. And when you are empowered, that means you have the knowledge. You may have to access some outside help, like a therapist, a psychiatrist, psychologist, a counselor. You may have to access, you get a good pastor that has done this. I dealt with this for over 30 years. I done dealt with this for about 35 years, going on 36 years. And I done dealt with thousands of people, and I'm telling you that it is not beyond your reach. It is not beyond your reach to get relief for your child. And you have to understand what it is when they're alienated from the inside because of blame, because they felt like they were abandoned. Even though you were there, they felt like you dropped them and that you didn't come back for them. And some children that may be 40 years old may be locked at 8 at this traumatic time when they finally hit them. I'm abandoned, she's not there. And they can hear you screaming where you were being beaten and you didn't leave. So you have to really count the cost, because it's no longer you when children are involved. Mom, Dad, you have to protect those who can't protect yourself, because we have to answer. We didn't know any better, so we didn't do better. But once we know better, we will do better. Once again, thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much for allowing me to enter your life with these different strategies, with these different moments of encouragement, with these different moments of recognition. And I brought awareness to many of you that you didn't even know what you was dealing with, so you couldn't have a resolution because you didn't have what was going on. And once you got what was going on, you knew the seriousness of the situation. You are a thinker, and your brain is magnanimous. Never underestimate a moment of opportunity. Take advantage, because that one is something that may not frequent. So you take advantage of every opportunity, and what's under your care for it. All right. Remember, we have the Empath conference that is going to be Saturday at from 10 to 2, and you can still register. The doors are open to registration until Friday, 6 p.m. At 6 p.m., we're closing the door to registration because it is filling up quick. And most of you said, I can't do it until Thursday or Friday. Okay, then it's open to 6 o'clock Friday. Then we must close the doors and wait for another opportunity. Thank you so much for your emails. I'm elated. I love them. And some of you, let me tell you this. If you are not in sessions with me and you give me a 3-page letter, email, I'm not going to read that. That is too long. If your email is beyond a paragraph or 2, you need a session with me, because I don't have time to read a book and not be able to properly resolve or give input into that. That would be unfair for me, and that would be unfair for you. My schedule is very busy, but I take the time that I need to take for you. I do offer up sessions. If you want a session with me, Destiny Helper 12s at gmail.com. Destiny Helper 12s at gmail.com. Feel free to contact me, and we can share and talk about some things, and we can see where you need to go from there. It is always my desire to bring the best to you. So I take time to study to make sure that I have accurate information for you. Thank you so much for your time. Then don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and make sure you push that bell. Every time I come on, you will get an alert. And remember, on Thursday nights, late evening, and I usually do it after my Bible class. So at Thursday night, I come on live. Last Thursday was a blast. I mean, you all make it so wonderful because of the help that we have. We are a team, and that's why I call you my YouTube fam, because we are a family and we're helpers one for another. And the wisdom that pours out your mouth is astounding. Let's do this. So guess what? On tomorrow, after service, so tomorrow evening, start looking for me. And usually you can start looking for me about 9 to 10 o'clock my time, 9 to 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and you can variate your time according to that time. All right. So those of you, thank you so much. I'm looking for many of you at the Empath conference, and the rest of you, I'm going to see you on tomorrow. We got a lot to talk about, and let's talk about alienation, parent alienation. Can we continue that? Yeah, because I mean, the emails that you've sent to me are copious, and I mean, many of you are concerned about that. Is a topic. My greatest response was the aged narcissist. Oh my God, that was one of the greatest response. And the super empath, you're very interested over that, and the new supply. Well, this right here was one of those subjects that I got a tremendous amount of emails. It's the children blaming the adult supply and alienation. So we're going to dive into more alienation, and we can start on tomorrow, and then I'll do another video. I'll do a video, maybe a couple of videos, then I'll come back with the alienation. And many of you told me to continue with the age narcissist, so I will do another one of those coming up too. And so we are getting the empath. Those of you, get ready. I want to show you how powerful you are. Many times they view empaths as weak. No, they are very, very, very powerful. And the narcissist knows it. That's why dealing with a greater empath, do it at your own risk. All right. I love you, and I'll see you on the next video. Remember to register. Looking for you. God bless.